All over social media, people have been filming themselves trying and failing to melt snowballs using a lighter or a match. Instead of melting into a puddle, the snowball appears to simply burn, which, according to Occam's razor, means that the United States government and or Bill Gates have created fake snow that looks exactly like real snow, but is actually made of something other than water, and then it's been dropped from the skies in a way that perfectly mimics the way that snow falls.
So as many of you know, it is snowing in Texas, right? So I balled up some snow in my hand. You know, it's not really melting. To make it even more weird, watch this. What the fuck, right? Look at that. It doesn't even melt. Huh.
Congratulations, Kyle. You've really busted this whole thing wide open. I'm sure Bill Gates is terrified. He's probably going to have you killed, honestly. So clearly, because of my tone and because of, my whole thing, you probably can tell that I don't think that this is fake snow that has been dropped on Texas for reasons. But why does a snowball seem to burn instead of melt? I'll throw out the simplest answer that I can before we get into what I really want to talk about. Just to help those of you who need to answer these kinds of questions from your QAnon affiliated uncles or whatever at the dinner table. The black you see forming on the snowball isn't the snowball burning. It's just soot that comes from the impurities in the lighter or the matchstick. Exactly what you would see if you held a match up to a pane of glass. Like if you have a glass votive like this, you can see there's like a black mark here. Oh, and it just rubbed off on my finger. Because I didn't burn the glass when I held the match too close to it. I just got some soot on it from the match. Okay, so why does the snowball not melt then? Well, there are actually several hypotheses which may end up combining to cause what we actually see is happening. For a start, some experts point out that applying a flame directly to frozen water can cause it to sublimate, which is what happens when ice heats so rapidly that it skips the water stage and goes straight to the steam stage. But possibly more importantly, when a densely packed mound of snow heats up, even slowly, it doesn't just liquefy in the same way that an ice cube might. I've spent more than a decade living in places like Boston, Massachusetts, and Buffalo, New York, and these snow mounds there can last for months, even when under a hot sun. They don't just melt. First, they turn into slush. The snow does melt, but the water moves around inside the mound. So instead of just having solid snow here and a puddle here, the whole mound just gets more slushy and more slushy until you start to see the water and it fully melts. In fact, because I live in the Bay Area and I have no snow to demonstrate for you here, here is my pal Phil, the Bad Astronomer plate. This is the second shout out I've given him this week, so I'm going to have to start charging him for like a sponsorship. Just be alert for that bill, Phil. Talking about this very topic when it first started popping up 7 years ago.
And I can actually prove this, I believe, that this will melt and turn into water like any normal snow by taking this and doing something that nobody else in those videos thought to do, and that is let the snowball melt. And here we go. Give it a few seconds. It's melting. And you can see the water line. There it is. And as more of the snow melts from the bottom up, the water gets sucked into the snow itself. See? It's turning into a slush ball. And that is what's happening in those videos. That's where the water is going. It's going into the snowball itself. not dripping away as you might expect.
Kind of interesting, right? I mean, it's not as interesting as the idea of Bill Gates building snow-mimicking nanobots that are secretly injecting us with COVID vaccines when we lick snow cones. But in a way, it's more interesting because it's real. But is the sheer weirdness of this conspiracy theory enough to have kept it going now for 7 years? Phil wrote, like most ridiculous conspiracy theories, this one will die off, but another will soon take its place. Oh, if only that were true. You sweet summer child. The irony is that ignorance about snow and slush and soot is continuing to spread, I think, in part because we as a society are terrified of displaying ignorance. Here's the thing. When this burning snowball conspiracy theory started spreading, I rolled my eyes and moved on. But then I thought, hold on, what actually is happening there? Like, it's not a government conspiracy, but snow can't burn, right? So I thought that maybe it was because of impurities in the snow, but I wanted to know for sure, so I Googled it. And I found this article published a few days back that says that it's sublimation, end of story. Oh, I thought that's interesting. My curiosity was sated. But because I kept clicking around until I eventually found Phil's video from 2014, in which he points out the water moving around and turning the ball into slush. In a post he wrote to go with that video, he put in this edit. Another site tried to explain this away by saying the ice was sublimating, turning from a solid directly into a gas. This happens with dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, but it seems clear to me that's not what's going on here, especially since you can actually see the snow soaking up the water. So it's actually, to quote Ben Goldacre, a bit more complicated. The real answer for why doesn't a snowball melt in the way we expect is, I don't know. I hesitate to say scientists don't know because I'm sure that somewhere out there is a consensus of physicists who can agree on whether it's the sublimation hypothesis, whether it's the slush hypothesis, or whether it's the why not both hypothesis that is the most accurate. But there are still questions among scientists as to exactly how snow and ice melt. This is actually an important and active field of study, in large part thanks to the melting ice in the Arctic that is both the cause and effect of much of our global climate change, which, you know, is kind of why people in Texas are just now hopping aboard the evil snow conspiracy theory anyway, because of global warming. But yes, snowmelt models are still being adjusted and fine-tuned, because researchers must, due to their occupation, be comfortable saying, I don't know. Because the next statement after I don't know is, let's find out. But unfortunately, a whole lot of people in our society are not comfortable saying, I don't know. It's more rewarding in terms of social acceptance and social media views and faves and retweets to say, I know. And instead of the next statement being, let's find out, in this case, it's, I have secret information that no one else has, and here it is. And we reward that. And we shouldn't. We, as a society, should be, in a way, rewarding ignorance. We should be rewarding knowing that you don't know. Ignorance can be corrected. It just requires that we first admit that we're ignorant, because then we can move on to the next step, finding out.